Notice on page 47 in your book as well that we throw in another little twist. It's possible you may have some other prorations. To be honest with you, taxes are pretty much going to be one that you're going to have to deal with. But they also threw one in about the homeowners association. So think about this. Well, I'll just read you the problem. A buyer purchased a property on May 23rd for $220,000. The HOA dues are $150 per month, and they have been paid for the whole year by the seller. What would the adjustment be if the seller pays the day of closing? Okay, we're dealing with a lot of moving parts here, so let's just calendarize it. Always helps me. We're closing on May 23rd, okay? And then it says the homeowner dues are $150 per month. Well, remember, if the seller paid him for the year, he paid $150 times 12, which looks like it's going to be about $1,800. Okay, so the seller paid $1,800, but the seller didn't use the whole year. He paid for the whole year, but he only used this part. So in this case, we look at it and say, well, what would be fair? I think it would be fair if the buyers weren't going to be the one using the home during that time period. So I think it'd be fair if the buyer were to reimburse for that part of the year. So here's what I'm going to do. I figured the taxes are, the HOA is $1,800 for the year divided by 360. And we will find out that looks like it's $5 per day. Okay, $5 per day. And then I'm going to look at this and I'm going to say, well, the seller used the property for, 4 months. 4 months times 30 days, 120 and 23, including the day of closing, which makes it 23, 143 days. Okay, well, if the seller used it 143 days, then the buyer must have used it for the remainder of the year, or is going to use it for the remainder of the year. So let's say it's going to be 217 days. 217 days to the buyer at $5 per day. $217 days at $5 a day. Looks like that's going to be $1,085. Check my math on that real quickly. 217 times 5, 1,085. And of course, we're going to take it from the buyer, debit buyer of 1,085, and we're going to credit it to the seller, 1,085, the exact same number. And now our HOA has been taken care of as well. Notice how we also put in the purchase price, and that had no effect on this problem at all. You could just as easily have calculated the end of the year. You could have said, well, that looks to me like it's going to be, what would that be? However you do the calculation. You could count backwards from December 30th to here if you wanted to, but you should get 217 days if you did it that way. 7 months times 30 days plus the 7 days of the remainder of the month. You could have done it that way. I tend to go the short way first and then subtract it when necessary. HOA is not radically different, but you're just looking at a slightly different set of numbers and situations. In this particular case, it told us that the seller had paid for the whole year.